Welcome back to Ophelia Orlando. Today we are here in Christmas colors, here with a holiday spirit,
Green.
Here to talk to you about the best holiday movie ever, The Apartment. And I am here with a wonderful filmmaker and former student of mine.
Thank you. I am Mahesh RamSudama. I love The Apartment. I literally lived The Apartment movie for almost 6 months and I'm still living it. I watched it twice in last 2 days.
Nice,
Yeah,
amazing.
I was just trying to remember every beat and everything.
It's so okay. So the provenance of this interview, other than Mahesh having been a great former student and filmmaker in his own right, Mahesh directed a recreation, yes, a recreation of a great scene in The Apartment for the class that you took with me directing, which was phenomenal and a very creative person and love thinking outside the box and breaking rules, which I love. And it was like very hard to kind of get you to come to like just directing this one scene, just a scene between two people exchanging some energy. I was thinking this was going to be something that you weren't going to want to do, but then you came out with the scene and it was so beautiful, and you actually really took the assignment and just focused on those performances and like your camera language. I just thought you did like such a wonderful job, and your passion for the movie came through too. So
yeah, I think that the genesis of that scene actually came in another class. I was in Professor Penya's screenwriting class, and one of the assignments we actually had to transcribe it.
Oh, cool.
Like literally line by line, emotion by emotion, without looking at the screenplay. So I kind of remembered it, and I had no idea, absolutely at that time, that I would be actually making a short film on this. I didn't even know that at that time that I would be taking up directing. You remember when I finished your screenwriting class, I came to you and I said, Professor, I'm not sure if I really want to do directing or not. And then I think you said, it is something which I'm gonna love, and writing and directing are mostly not exactly the same thing technically, but somebody who excels in writing also is a likely candidate for that he would also direct or she would direct.
Yeah.
So that's the genesis of that short film which I made. As Professor said, the recreation of the Christmas scene, which happens around, I think, the middle of the movie, around 56 marks. Yeah.
About exactly the middle, actually.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the most pivotal point,
Yeah. And I'd be curious, do you feel that you learned anything about directing from this scene that you directed?
Oh, of course. I think I was actually very pleasantly surprised. What I saw was so directing is something where you really have to marshal the resources. It's something that, that can happen only within the team. And I think that was also challenging for me. But also that put me towards the right direction, because I chose writing because I'm somebody who likes to think a lot. I'm mostly introverted. So I like to think a lot, and then sometimes I would spend hours thinking about one sentence. So you have to talk to a lot of people. You have to move around a lot. And I think location scouting, where you have to find the location, that's very crucial. It takes a lot of time.
And you're very good at that.
Yeah.
Mahesh will sometimes be like, okay, in my directing class, I just loved it. I mean, I love your ambition, so please, that's the frame of this joke that I'm about to make. But it's so many times in directing class, I mean, this is like a scene assignment. It's not a short film, but I just loved it because most students are barely shooting it in the hallway outside of the, classroom. And Mahesh is coming to me being like, oh, Professor, I'm just having issues with my location. The airplane hangar that I got fell through. Or the stables, the horse is sick. I'm like, the horse? Where was the horse coming from, Mahesh? But I love it. It was amazing. Because you really did. You went out there and you had this vision, and that's how I am. And that's what a filmmaker is. It's I have this vision, I see that it's out there, and I'm going to go and I'm going to figure out how to get it. And you're never oh, well, they don't let people shoot in the airplane hangars. You're okay, I'm going to go talk to somebody until I get into the airplane hangar. And I love that's a filmmaker, so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wrote to the city of Sugarland. I was just trying my luck.
Yeah, but that's what you have to do. You have to just try, right?
And it came through.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Well
I
done.
So I think filmmaking, I think anybody who wants to make movies, I always think about this. I think somebody who has not gone through something painful or some sort of issue in the past, I don't think you can. I mean, it's like a prerequisite. I mean, there's something in your heart or inside you, which says, you know what? Okay, you have to do this. You have to move on. This pain, whatever you are feeling right now, whatever that pain is, relationship, or parents, or family, or politics, whatever, your identity. There is this calling from within you that says you should do something, you should create something, you should do something creative. So that's one prerequisite, which I had, because I've gone through a lot.
Because we're talking about the movie today, like anything that you learned about the scene, the characters, anything that made you like the movie even more or have more respect for Billy Wilder?
Yeah, I think I don't know where to actually begin to start talking about him. I think what he does is, the way he writes, the way he creates his characters, he does not make them one-dimensional. He's like, always thinking about, because no human being is perfect, right? So nobody's a saint, nobody's a devil, right? So he would always create characters, which you can relate to. He would create situations which are like normal day-to-day situations. Like, you are in the elevator, you're working in the office, or you go home, a neighbor comes by. So these are like very normal situations. But the way he writes, the way he writes the scenes, especially the dialogues, the way he crafts those dialogues, and his wittiness and his dark humor, he sets up so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's literally sometimes that callback is like immediately in the same scene. Sometimes it's maybe like after an hour or maybe after half an hour, and you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
So basically, we as filmmakers, we are sort of manipulators of audience, right? We manipulate their emotions, right? Mm-hmm. So when they see something like in this movie, there's one point where Jack Lemmon, he says something which means like 4, but he actually says 3. So he shows 4 fingers, but he actually speaks like 3. And then after I think maybe probably half an hour, when she's recuperating and she's talking about what exactly happened like when she was going through like puberty and everything. So she said she had like 3 affairs, but she does like this, right? Yeah. So there's lots of setups and a lot of callbacks, like cheese crackers. And I observed one special thing about him actually. He doesn't go for many setups actually. He doesn't go for many setups. I mean, if you see like a lot of modern movies, Marvel movies and all that, you will see literally 5 or 6 setups even for a small scene. So what he does, I think he relies more on the story writing and the way, and again his blocking is also not very,
blocking.
His blocking is like not very elaborate, but like it's very elegant.
So precise, so elegant. Yeah.
I mean I think each and every person knows how to move, where to move, and and within
and the
like
camera.
Exactly, yeah. So I think his blocking, his the way he does the setup, the way he writes the dialogues, I think he understands the nuances of human nature, the subtlety. I mean, the time he was born, and he was born in Berlin, right, in Germany. So he was born at the time, when there was
the rise of the Nazism, right?
Exactly, they were actually going through the entire Holocaust, So I think he was in Berlin, and I think he wanted to save his life. Then he moved to Paris. He was also a club dancer. So yeah, he used to dance. He used to.
That makes sense.
He used to do the movie reviews. He was also a reporter. There was once when he actually walked on someone. He was about to go for an interview. He walked on an executive, and that executive was actually having sex.
Oh my goodness.
Right, yeah, exactly, in the middle of the day. And he actually used those events like, in space. Yeah. So he moved to Berlin, and then he moved to Paris, and then he came to New York. So he's an immigrant, right? And I think when I was looking at his interview, he said he wasn't able to speak English properly. English wasn't his primary language. But the way he would write dialogues, especially with I.A.L, the co-writer in this movie, that's mind-blowing. I mean, if you read the screenplay, there's no way in the world anybody would say, okay, this person is not a native speaker of English.
Yeah.
And every character has a distinct voice. Every character has a distinct mannerism. I mean, even if you don't watch the movie, you just read the screenplay, you would exactly know, okay, who's Jack, who's Fran, who's Shirley, who's Mr. Dreyfus, Miss Dreyfus, everything,
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he creates his characters. He creates this story world. Basically, he creates a lot of subplot and then he weaves them together so that the audience can have catharsis at the end.
Yeah. Beautifully said, because he's so good at that catharsis. Like the last scene in this movie, every time I cry.
I just love it.
What?
I just love it.
I know, it's so wonderful, and I was thinking about it the last time I watched this yesterday. I was thinking it truly is a design thing, because, and Billy Wilder, I mean, he's just phenomenal. I agree with everything you said. He's just so incredible as a director and a writer, and just an artist, a poet, a human. And I think it goes to prove what you said earlier, too, about how in order to be a really good filmmaker, one should have experienced some darkness and some pain. Because you can tell that so much in Billy Wilder's writing, even though it's so funny and surface, it seems like it's just every day, everything, but there's so much depth, there's so much pain, there's so much like feeling in it. And this movie, it's just amazing. It's like a rom-com that involves like, it starts with men cheating on their wives, moves into suicide. I mean, it just like continues to be dark, and yet it's hilarious and it's so light. Actually, I love all of his movies, and Sunset Boulevard has such a special place in my heart and probably many people's hearts. But watching this again, I was like, I think this is the best written, like and like maybe the best technically, like the precision, everything, like you said, the setups and the callbacks, the writing is just so perfect, and it's so simple. It feels like you're just dancing along until you get to the end, and then you feel that catharsis, and it's just, I mean, that is perfect construction. That is like, it's great in the moment, because I mean, we haven't even talked about Shirley MacLaine's performance. Like, the performances are raw and they're really good.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And then the structure holding it is so perfect that it just creates this like emotional experience at the end that I think is perfect.
Yeah, he's a master of that.
Totally, yeah. Well, let's talk about The Apartment, because as I've found by doing these, me and anybody can talk about any movie for 400 years, like literally forever. So we have to limit ourselves. So you get three favorite things, and I have three favorite things, and we're going to switch off, and you're going to do your favorite thing, and I'll do my favorite thing, and then we'll get through all three of them. How's that sound?
Yeah.
All right.
Makes sense.
Great. What's your first favorite thing?
Writing.
The writing, yeah. I mean, is there anyone, because that's kind of my first favorite thing, but I have picked one moment in the writing that exemplifies what I think is just so exceptional about it. Is there anything other than what you've already said that exemplifies to you what makes the writing just so exceptional in this?
I think the way he writes each and every scene, it's like it's leading to something. I noticed something. He writes a lot of stuff around. I mean, he's got some fascination with the doors. So a lot of pivotal moments when he would actually write when people are exiting the room.
The doors, yeah.
The doors.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like, like the first three scenes between Fran and Jeff, they all around. So the first, when he gets in the elevator.
When he gets in the elevator.
So when he gets in the elevator, I mean, that's the first time, when we know about Fran, and she's the elevator girl. So we find out who exactly Fran is, what kind of person she is, and basically it's a setup, right? So that's the first one. The second scene is he has to go and meet Mr. Sheldrick on the I think on the 19th floor. He goes up, and then so again he meets Fran.
Here, yeah.
And I think that's the point. Once he exits that door, I'm actually looking good. So actually she gives that
flower to him. Yeah.
And the third one is, it's almost the end of the day when they are leaving. She's just about to leave. She comes out of the main building door, and then I think she's like freezing because it's very cold.
Yeah.
And she tilts her head to the left, and he's like, okay, you know what? I've got a movie ticket for the Music Man.
Yeah.
Do you wanna come? And she says, you know what? Yeah, I will come. I mean, eventually she doesn't keep that promise for for a different reason. So I think a lot of scenes happens around the door. But sorry.
It's interesting because they were in the elevator, then they came to the door, and now they're out.
Yeah.
In just those three scenes, he's taken them out of the elevator. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. So well designed. Okay.
I think the reason I chose that scene to recreate was because of the writing. I think there's a lot of emotion involved in that scene, and she feels very hurt. It brings out she's a human at the end of the day. So even though she's looking for validation from Sheldrick, when he offers her like $100 bill, she literally feels like punch in the gut. She feels very humiliated. So I think I would say the way he wrote that, I think his cunningness and her innocence, they both came to the fore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I would.
That's
stop.
interesting. So the cunning character and the innocence meeting in a scene. There's something about, and I know actually from your writing that you bring those elements together a lot. A very innocent character like a child or somebody who is just innocent, then someone who's completely malevolent, completely beyond the pale, like not even doesn't care at all or very close to that. You know, I feel like you're interested in that interaction.
Yeah, I think it's a classic good versus evil. I can relate to that. Also, in a sense, I mean, again, not bringing my actual background, but I think the way I was raised and the way I grew up, that shows a lot in how I create characters and how I write movies and dialogues. So, I mean, yeah, my family was not very economically advantaged. Let's just put it that way. So I've seen quite a few things. I don't know if I should say it. So again,
I can cut it out if you don't want me
no,
to.
No. It's something personal. I mean, you can keep it if you want. Honestly, I've never told this to anyone. So basically, we used to live in this. We used to live in a slum, which was as big as your room.
Okay, as this office.
Yeah, and it was 7 of us. My 2 brothers, my 2 sisters, my mom and dad, and of course me. And in the same space, we had the bathroom, we had the kitchen, the sleeping place, there is a bed. So we can imagine. So it's like when you've seen the life from that perspective, where you have no privacy, you have no personal life. Even, I mean, honestly, I didn't even know the word personal life. You know, yeah. So I think you kind of start rooting for the underdog. Not that, I mean, I'm not saying I was like an underdog, but what I'm saying is you have that image in your mind which you want to overcome.
Yeah. So
I think the best way to overcome is, like, put something proportionally on the other end.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm always so curious. Honestly, like, I know it's hard to share, and when I hear it, it gives so much insight into, like, that's what the beauty of movies are, right? Is they connect us. Neither one of us have ever been an elevator girl in the 1950s New York City, but we both connected to it through our own personal experiences, and I just love to hear how that connection is made. Like, what this connects to with you and what it connects to with me are going to be different things, and it shows that we share a common experience in a way.
Oh yeah, we do. I mean, I think you're also number 8 person, right?
What do you mean?
I think I remember I asked you once in the class the date you were born. I think you said 17 or 26.
Yeah.
17? 17. Yeah. So 17 is
8.
That's number 8. So.
Are you 17th or 8th?
I'm 17th.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I'm born in 17 as well.
Okay.
Cool. I think the people with 17 have this tendency of creation and self-destruction.
Oh, yeah. No, I do.
Not that I'm saying, okay.
No, it resonates for sure. Don't worry.
Yeah. So when you have this, there's this inner fire that you cannot really contain. You are really trying to find some sort of avenue through which you can extinguish that fire. I can use that fire. I mean, I used to be an engineer, right? I was working fine. I didn't have any issues as such. But then few things happened in my personal life, my mom and dad, and then I was like, I don't know what exactly is going on with my life. I don't think I'll be able to find fulfillment here. So I just literally started from the clean slate.
When you came into HCC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I did. So
that's awesome. And in just a few years, you have already acquired so much of this sophistication in terms of your approach to filmmaking and understanding what goes into it. And I think what I also love to see, and is the other reason that I wanted to talk to you about this movie for this, is that it actually lights you up. I think I can see, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see that you really do, there's something in your soul is connecting to with filmmaking, with storytelling. And I just saw it so much in The Apartment, and that's what I love to talk about too, is like, what about this movie, and we're starting to kind of get to it here, is so emotional. And isn't that just wonderful and profound that, again, the story of a, guy in New York who lets men in his office sleep with their girlfriends in his apartment somehow connected to your story of how you grew up and the circumstances, and that is like so cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you go and watch any movie, I think you're basically trying to just see yourself.
Yeah.
You're trying to live some sort of fantasy.
Yeah, there's the fantasy and the wish fulfillment aspect too that's in there. But I think Fran's character and her emotional condition is so relatable, because it's like you would think she's in New York, she's in this big city, in this big office where all the bosses clearly have girlfriends and they all sleep around their wives, and then they don't divorce their wives. So any cynical person would say, come on, girl, like, you should have known, you should have seen, why did you fall in love with this man? And yet I love that Billie Wilder plays her as she still did it anyway. It was stupid and she did it anyway, and it was naive and she did it anyway, and but her emotions are never treated like they're foolish or stupid or naive. They are really beautiful, actually, and sad that she wanted something and she reached for it, and then she didn't get it, and that made her not want to live anymore. Like, that is, relatable.
Yeah, completely relatable. I mean, because she had, I mean, as she says at one point, she had like 3 affairs, none of them worked out. And sorry, I keep going.
No, it's good. This is how this goes, and then we'll just edit it together and make sense of it. Okay. So, my thing. Yes. Okay. So my thing has to do with the writing also, and it is the mirror.
Oh my God! How can I forget that? Yes.
The mirror is like.
Oh my God! That's the most beautiful. That's probably the most beautiful. I mean, all things are beautiful. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
But it is, right? It's like one of the best. I remember the first time I saw this movie, it like taught me screenwriting. Like, the mirror, that one device is so elegant, as you said. Great word. So impactful, so emotional, and it's done with a prop, it's done with a shot. It's so excellent. It's so good. So basically, if you remember, Sheldrake has brought over a woman to Jack Lemmon's, what's his name? What's his freaking Baxter, yeah. He's brought over a woman. Baxter knows a woman has come over with Sheldrake, the big boss. When he gets back to his house, he finds this broken mirror belonging to the woman. He doesn't yet know that Fran is the woman sleeping with Sheldrake, but we do. What do we call that?
I forgot that. Sorry.
No! Oh man,
So this. audience knows, but the character does. Yeah, there was a. I remember you taught us. Sorry, I forgot that term.
Dramatic irony. Irony.
I thought you were okay. All right, yeah.
You remember this? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were going for any other specific technical, sophisticated word, but that's okay.
No, simple, dramatic irony.
Yeah.
Straight up dramatic irony. It's great. So there's this fun, because we're like asking ourselves, when is Baxter going to figure it out? And then we go to the Christmas party at the office, and he's wearing this silly hat. I mean, it's just, like you said, he sneaks it in, Even you and I probably, we'd try to write that mirror thing, and we'd still make it too obvious. But Billie Wilder, he just like, oh, we're at the Christmas party, he's wearing this silly hat, and he just goes, should I wear this? And she goes, here, you can look at it yourself. And she hands him the mirror. And how crucial is it that it's broken? Being broken is so smart, because it makes it noticeable.
Exactly.
It means you have to say something about it. Like when he hands it to Sheldrake, he's like, this mirror is broken, and we get this shot of the mirror being broken. I mean, it's just also simple but masterful that when we finally get the shot of the mirror, it lands like a gut punch, because you can feel that he finally puts it together. That the girl I love, the girl I'm developing affection for, is sleeping with the man that I'm trying to get favor with, and I don't want that to happen.
I mean, I wish I could research more on Wilder. I mean, how can he come up with such dialogues and such setup and such scene,
Yeah.
I mean, the entire thing that you just said,
I think it comes down to, this is my belief after thinking about this a lot, is this is the kind of thing that you discover in the beauty and the flow of creation. Like, you can't think your way into this, but you can have excellent technique, excellent practice, and excellent discipline, so that when those ideas come, you know exactly where to put them. So I think it's like working all the time, working with frequent collaborators. All of that brings that like creative energy to just such a high level that then the skill, the technique, the discipline to apply them, like to know what to do with that.
He's a master.
I think this comes, it's a mastery that comes from like both technical skill and the ability to harness, I think was the word you used, like to just harness everything. And this mirror moment. So yeah, mirror is my one, and it's just such a good tool. This is like, after watching this again, I was like, I should show this movie to screenwriting, because this shows visual storytelling so well. Even the opening, you know how he has like a voiceover, which you know how I feel about voiceovers.
You don't like them?
I don't love them, but this voiceover is so good because
it does.
It says so much about his character. He's like listing all the stats and the facts and everything, you know. I was like, I've got to teach this. Like, this teaches visual storytelling, because this shows you how much more impactful on an emotional level an image is than a dialogue, right? There's no dialogue in the world that could ever hit you like this shot does.
Yeah, I think I've seen this movie like 4 or 5 times, I would say. And I think this is actually, and also Thelma and Louise, I saw in the screen theater. So I think these 2 movies are actually, made me think very differently about the dialogues. How much you write. Like, I write a lot, right? You know that. So how can just an image say so many things rather than writing a chunk of dialogues? And as you said about the voiceover, it was just the image, like the whole entire cog in this huge corporate machinery, just a small piece at the bottom, nobody cares for you. That comes out so well. And somehow here's this fascination with the insurance. So this is an insurance company. Double Indemnity's last movie also is about it. It's like a sort of a scam. Why we should pay for such an elementary thing. I think even he was on the same page as we are. I think he used to see a lot of society evils, and I think insurance company is.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's crazy how in a movie that another filmmaker would have made a light little rom-com.
Exactly.
He's talking about power, but it never will stop you laughing. Never will stop you from having a great time. Okay, what's your number 2 thing that you like?
Number 2. I would say, I think Sheldrake. So basically, So this is very interesting. So Sheldrake, Fred McMurray, that's his real name, right? The actor's name. I think he used to work in a lot of Disney movies, lots of family movies. Before this movie, if I remember correctly, this was the first role where he did a negative role. So I watched one interview where he's saying that a grandmother was taking her grandkid to watch this movie because she thought it's a kidney's movie. It's a Disney's movie. And when she came out, she was so pissed off. She actually saw him like in real life on the street, and she had a purse. She actually hit him with the purse.
Wow.
That was the impact. So I think, and when I heard that, then I went back and I saw the very first scene when there is a meeting between Sheldrake and Baxter. This is the question he asked. What is it that makes you so popular, Baxter, in the office? I mean, there are so many workers. And he's like, he's not coming up with like, any proper answers. And then slowly he says, okay, there is a certain key floating around. And again, he's not giving all his intentions out yet. So he's so manipulative. And you will see this same manipulation in all the scenes. So this scene, and then the very first scene between Fran and him, where I think they are meeting in a restaurant. And then she's like, okay, well, I don't want to meet you. Because, it was...
Right. So he's like, just come for a drink.
Just come for a drink. And then he immediately there is a switch in his mind, manipulation switch. Do you know, I just met a lawyer today morning. And she's like, what? Why? So then he's like, okay, then he's throwing it on her. Why do you think so? And then, I was talking about the divorce. And then, basically, he's so manipulative. He's so charming also. I think he's very charming, He's very charming, and I think he also has this manipulation in social manipulative skills he uses a lot. So I think his manipulation is something that I really loved.
I agree. It's psychologically astute. It's not a caricature. It's very truthful, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he was able to go around with like literally 4 women in the office.
Yeah.
And none of them can do anything. Miss
Olsen, yeah.
Miss Koch,
Uh-huh.
Miss Rossi, and then of course her.
And then you even get the scene of him with his wife where he's just playing it off like, no, nothing. Oh, I'm sorry, they called me, someone got... I don't know why they bother me with these things on Christmas Day.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no sense that he's ever going to take accountability for anything. It's always going to be pushed off onto other people, and yeah, it's really good. But then, God bless her, we gotta love Miss Olsen for getting her. And that's, again, oh, sorry, I'm just going over, because that goes back to the structure, the screenplay structure, like those little, that's so sophisticated to have that little thing of like Miss Olsen. She's used as a character so well, that secretary, Sheldrake's secretary. And that's another great example of a character that could be just a small character, but she's not one-dimensional. She's interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and when she calls the wife and tells Sheldrake's wife what's happened. So there's like this thing where she's used again and again. She slips it to Fran, which is what starts Fran thinking about suicidal ideation. Then later on, Sheldrake fires her for having told Fran, and she calls the wife, which is what causes the wife to leave Sheldrake, which is what gives us our third act thing, where Fran goes back to Sheldrake. So everything is just like so well constructed.
Yeah, it's like a literally like a symphony. You know, he's just moving around pieces and he's bringing them back.
Totally,
it's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Okay, that's a great thing. Sheldrake is a really good character and really well done.
And just one small thing.
Yeah.
So again, one of the interviews that I was watching, he said this was the first movie where a director asked me to actually act. He said that in the interview, and I was like, my God, I mean, this is amazing.
Amazing. I love that. Also her, right? She's like...
Oh, my God.
Could just be anybody, but Billy Wilder makes her a whole little character.
How she talks about, oh, my God, I'm writing to my husband in Havana who's in the jail. And I'm writing to another minister who's a Fing.
Oh, my God. Amazing. Okay, so my thing is going to be this one shot, which you recreated very well in your scene, I think. You actually had a surprisingly beautiful performance. Not surprising... and nothing to do with you, just that this is very hard to achieve, and a very early exercise to do that is excellent. I would say before this, because I'm sneaking one in, the blocking, you were so right. And I wanted to say too, because I was thinking about your scene, did you notice in rewatching this, I'm sure you've noticed this plenty of times, but the scene where she takes the pills, that's all one shot. It's a wide, which is very interesting because I think you had articulated it in a few. There's the close-up of the envelope and the pills and things. And he does it in pretty much one wide shot. That's hard to do. That's it's masterful kind of blocking to where the pills, the money, everything is kind of in the eye line where it needs to be. But I love that he will let things play in a wide shot, and just it allows you to feel the realism without cutting. It keeps that suspension of disbelief in a really lovely way. But my thing is overall Shirley MacLaine's performance, which time is fucking crazy, right? Like Shirley MacLaine is alive still.
Oh yeah.
And she's in this movie. This looks like it's from the ancient past. I'm so confused. Time is freaking. The older I get, the more time really freaks me out. Did that happen to you?
Sometimes. Aging is not forgiving.
No, it's not. Okay, it's this here. It's just her performance there.
My God, I remember.
Yeah. The shot of her getting the money from Sheldrake. I mean, there are many wonderful Shirley MacLaine performances, but this shot.
Yeah, this was the first shot in my short film.
Oh, really?
Literally. So as soon as I opened, immediately I put Shirley on one side.
Oh, yeah.
And Karan on the other side.
And your split screen,
The split screen, yeah. So because this moment is so powerful, and I think she put in like everything that she has in this scene. Literally. Because, if you watch the entire movie, I think this scene stands out because she's so emotional, but also, I mean, the way this entire thing happens, it's amazing.
Yeah. I'm getting like emotional thinking about how emotional she is. And
it is.
And like the structure of this movie is so beautiful too, because it's like this truffle almost, like the emotions like in the center, in the core, and like we get to this here in the middle is the heart of the pain and of the love and all the feeling, and then we kind of have to move away from it again after her attempt. But yeah, it's
and that one
amazing.
shot again. I mean, that one shot you said, yeah, it's Credit goes to Billy Wilder. I mean, he's a director who has won the Oscar. When I was shooting that scene in the bathroom, I could not do it in one shot. It's impossible because the way it shows in the mirror, I mean, it's simply not possible.
Right, because the camera's showing in the mirror, right.
Yeah, not only in that.
And this is in the 50s when, like, this is so smart having it be in the mirror, so you get it twice. You see it there, and then she brings it closer to screen without having to cut. It's so clever. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you did a good job. I mean, absolutely, but this is
amazing, yeah.
High-level directing. But yeah, she's doing it all here because we'll see she's going to... And remember, I don't know if I started saying this maybe in the directing class after you took, but if you can't move the camera, move the actor. Move the actor, move the prop.
No, you used to say it.
Did I say that? Yeah.
I used to say it.
It's one of my little catchphrases.
You don't forget anything, Professor.
Me?
You're very thorough. Thorough with all the tools that you give to the students. I mean, you're amazing.
Thank you. Thanks. I try to be.
I mean, I could do that only thanks to you.
Well, thank you. Honestly, like, when people hear me and then do something and then learn from it, that there's nothing more exciting to me to just be like, okay, great. Because it's not like I came up with this stuff. I learned it from someone else, you know. I'm just trying to pass on so you can make cool shit, what you're doing.
I know.
Which I love. Okay, so what's your number 3 thing?
Number 3, humor.
The comedy.
Oh my God. I think there's so much, I think people don't realize it. Like, you know, you don't have to go over the top to create humor. I think this movie is the best example. If somebody really wants to blend in like any sort of humor, I mean, especially in this movie, there's a light humor and there's also dark humor, you know. So I think Billy Wilder does it really well. He puts...
He does. There's so much dark humor.
There's so much dark humor. Like, for example, where the neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Dreyfus, yeah, they are like, you know, snooping on him, and they're like, okay, the action is happening every single day, and because they don't know, right, you know, that Baxter is lending his apartment to all the executives, and they're coming and having an affair every single night. So he's like, you're such a unique person every single day, like a different lady. So maybe we should donate your body to the science. And again, setting up, and then again he calls back. He himself calls back, like, you know, when he's talking to, I think, when he's talking to...
Fran. Yeah.
And then another example is, when he picks up this woman, and he goes to the apartment.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's like, oh, you should have a new refrigerator. And at that moment, he just has seen Fran completely passed out on the bed, and he's about to call the doctor. So he immediately exits. And she's like, no, I don't want to buy the refrigerator right now. I honestly don't know how he came up.
I mean, it's funny.
It's so funny. I mean, it's like, oh my God. Because, you know, as filmmakers, you're just trying to figure out, okay, what if I could do this? Or, you know?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of his background, his writing, he used to write essays. He used to write film reviews. He used to do a lot of stuff. So I think he used a lot of his experience. So I think the dark humor, light humor, this movie is an amazing example of anybody who wants to write good, light-hearted or dark humor, just go and watch this movie.
Yeah, no, you're so right, because that example is like, he's always edging with how ridiculous of a joke can I make in how dark of a moment, basically. And that marriage, once again, coming back to that kind of light and dark coming together and meeting in this space, that's a thing you are interested in. I am too. Probably anybody who watches film, we like to see light and dark come together and grapple. And even and especially in comedy, like, actually that is really true, that it's the refrigerator joke is so silly and stupid compared to like a woman who's almost like taking her own life. And
it's like, I mean, who can find humor when somebody's trying to commit suicide? You know? I mean, but it's great. It's great, you know. And also remember one more thing, not to get off track, but it's in the same vein. Remember when the first time Sheldrake like manipulates him, and you know what, I also want the same key. And then he says, you know what, this thing should not leak out. At the same moment, Baxter, like, I think it's a nose drop, right? He's trying to put the nose drop, and he literally leaks that, and it literally flies. And
Yeah.
I mean, he must have set it up. I mean, he must have thought about it, like, okay, set it up here and then use it here.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he's like making visual comedy bits around him taking all the razor blades out of his razors because he's on like suicide watch for Fran. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just too funny. It's great.
It is. Yeah.
Setup and payoff. Yeah. Well, my last thing is also a setup that's paid off perfectly. A great line that gets referenced, and it's actually amazing we haven't even mentioned it because that just goes to show how many great like callbacks there are throughout the movie. But
I actually wrote like 10 pages. But...
Really? Yeah, I know. Me too. But, I'm sure you could talk forever. But well, can you guess it? What's the line I haven't said?
So you already said the mensch.
No, I didn't. But that's a good one.
That's a good one.
A real human being.
Mensch, okay.
Yeah. Mensch is a great one. Yeah.
Give me a hint. Is it towards the beginning?
It has to do with cookies.
Cookies.
I'll just tell you. That's the way it crumbles, cookie-wise.
Oh, cookie-wise. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was so great. Yeah,
it's a great line. Yeah.
I mean, I think Mr. Kirkby. So Mr. Kirkby has this innate humor where he adds the, I would say, suffix, right? Suffix, wise to everything, like, I mean, I think when you watch the movie, there's so many examples. And
then Jack Lemmon like impersonates it with like, that's the way it crumbles, cookie-wise.
Yeah.
And then he says it to Fran, and then Fran finally says it in the last scene. And this all has been my setup to talk about the end, which we already talked about, but just such a perfect scene. And going back to what you said too about how comedy doesn't need to be overstated to be funny. The same is true for drama, for like those emotional moments. That last scene never fails to draw a strong emotional reaction from me, and yet nobody's weeping or sobbing in it. Nobody's on their knees. Nobody's crying. They're playing cards, and they're not even they're not having sex. They're not there's nothing to suggest the depth of emotion that you feel when you watch it, except for the entire movie that has come before and that has like set up this moment. And when she just says shut up and deal, and she hands him the cards, I mean, it's like something about it like hits the exact right note.
I think it's a very perfect ending. I mean, if you want to come up with, you can come up with any ending you want because you're a filmmaker, but I think that's sort of a perfect ending also because he's like, he says it twice, okay, I love you, and then he says, well, I really adore you. I think that's what he says. She doesn't say I love you too or anything like that. Understands, she's also into him now. I think I think that's amazing, to say things not explicitly, but everybody would understand and go home happy. I think that's what everyone wants. Yeah.
And there's something even in the way she runs to him, even at that time, that would have been a cliche. At the very end of the movie, she realizes she's in love and she runs down the street in her little dress and runs in the door. But somehow it's even that's about it. It's like this big kind of, emotional finale, and then she just sits down and plays the cards, and that's so much what this movie is like it like contains so much depth, but in the everyday, in just sitting down on the couch in the office, in the.
I mean, he literally brings the arc of every character to its logical conclusion.
Every one of them.
I mean, I mean, finally, Jack Lemmon, he finds his voice. He leaves the job.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't want any promotion anymore. He also leaves his apartment almost. Right?
Yeah.
Because he just wants to leave, and he finally is like, I'm going to be a man of value going forward. I'm not going to let anyone else use my apartment anymore. Yeah. And then Fran, she leaves Sheldrick,
Yeah.
She's like, okay, you know what? I will stop looking for validation from this married man. It's not going anywhere. I will start living my own life, And Sheldrick, I mean, he also finds, I think that is the only possible thing that could have happened. Again, I mean, anything could happen, but he was so manipulative and he was so cunning. And I mean, by the end, his wife throws him out and he also loses Fran. I think that's the best possible ending that anybody could think of. Yeah. So it literally brings the entire arc, from one end to the other.
There's great poetic justice. There's great romantic justice.
Yeah.
And their performance is so good here.
Oh, yeah. And they actually use this specific frame for the movie poster. Nobody would guess that this literally comes at the very end.
I love it. And just look at the way that they're holding that connection there between them.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that's the power of cinema, Professor. It's like you've seen so much shit. I mean, not shit, but like you've seen so many things going on in their lives, and they find happiness in each other. I'm actually very surprised that nobody has actually, because a lot of movies get remade, but nobody has actually touched this movie. I mean, somebody should remake a movie.
You think?
I think so.
I mean, I don't think anybody could do it as well as Billy Wilder.
No,
You'd have
of
to
course
have
not. Of course not.
kind of different perspective on it. And I think what's interesting is that this film continued to be relevant, but socially, I think you actually couldn't have made it in the 80s or 90s with this level of perception. The way he's calling out these men for having affairs on all their wives. I mean, he's saying this is a structure of rampant sexual trading, and no one's even working, basically.
So you think if somebody wants to really remake this movie in this modern era, it's not possible?
No, I don't think so.
In the sense, like, because the society has evolved, or
I just think you kind of have to like update the perspective on it, and I also just think I'm just making a remark, not even on how you would make the movie, but about how society doesn't just move in this linear progression. Like it kind of regressed. This would have been hard to make in the 80s and 90s and have it have this level of truthfulness. Yeah. People weren't making movies at that time like this that were big studio releases. So I think that this is a very remarkable movie, that it deals with suicide, it deals with infidelity, it deals with divorce, and it deals with sexual harassment and power structures, and it's a Christmas movie and it's a New Year's movie, and it's a love story, which the film industry doesn't like those. They like things to fit into the
specific genre.
Can you imagine going in and pitching a movie and being like, okay, we're going to do a Christmas movie, but the midpoint is a suicide attempt?
They were like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Yeah, so it's very remarkable. I think even the fact that Billy Wilder made it is probably couldn't have even been made if he hadn't made multiple successful films before it, to where the studio would give him the freedom and the license to do this.
And also there's something about, like, these great classic movies, you should not touch them. I mean, if they are made and they are so beautiful, just don't spoil them by remaking it. And I'm a firm believer of that, but it is just that this movie is so, it's like, you want to relive it. In the modern era, Wow. So, like, for example, Thelma and Louise, right? Nobody can touch that movie.
Yeah.
But I would want someone to, like, remake the same sort of movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there is that feeling, you always want something better and more. Same thing.
Yeah. That's how so many of us end up watching and rewatching the same movies and TV shows, just wanting to live in that world again. Or Well, should we I could put your film that you made at the end of this on YouTube if you would like. I can post it.
Please.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm not on the social media. I don't know, Professor. I think I have to be on the social media sooner or later, but it seems like, it's a battle which is lost. You know what I'm talking about? I
mean, I do know people who do it who don't have social media and they're making films. I just think eventually when you do have certain projects, you just need to hire somebody to do it. Right. Make sure, like a producer, and have them just do it. Because you don't need it, but your movies do. Like the products that you make need to have a presence. So don't worry about it for now, but just be mindful of it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my goodness. What should we say to the people? Watch The Apartment.
Watch The Apartment. But there's one thing so I saw your few episodes of the same.
Yeah.
Would you call this a podcast?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. But you never ask the subscriber to subscribe.
I know.
Why not?
Because
can I say it?
Yes. Great.
But okay, first tell me why you don't say it.
Because it feels cheesy, yeah.
Let me do the cheesy part. Everyone who's watching this episode of
Ophelia Orlando,
please subscribe. Professor's channel is like a gold mine. You will get so many things out of it. Please do subscribe.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Love that. See, that wasn't cheesy. That was authentic. That was good.
You could have done better, Professor.
That's why I have to get good at asking for stuff, which is part of being a filmmaker too. Yeah. We want to do everything ourselves, but we have to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also trying to find my way into the filmmaking, and it seems like it's full of obstacles, conflict.
Yes.
We talk about conflict all the time. So the filmmaker's life is full of conflicts. Get that, guys.
Yes.
If you haven't suffered enough, please
become a filmmaker. Is this your favorite Billy Wilder movie? Have you seen all his movies?
I know I haven't seen all his movies, but I think I want to watch Double Indemnity and
good.
Some Like It Hot.
You have not seen Some Like It Hot yet?
I have seen the snippets of it, but wait, have I seen that movie? No, I think that's a different movie of Marilyn Monroe. That was, I think...
Gentlemen Prefer Blondes?
Yes, I think that's the movie I saw. So yeah, I have to watch Some Like It Hot, and I think, yeah.
You are in for a treat. Some Like It Hot is also one of the best movies ever made. Billy Wilder has made multiple exceptional movies that are standards of what Hollywood cinema can be. And I was going to say that, whatever, it's gone now. Sunset Boulevard. Have you seen Sunset Boulevard?
No. I plan to. It's in what
That's really, 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 really good. I mean, Sunset Boulevard and Some Like It Hot are the ones more people have seen. So this is kind of like the deep cut, the one that less people have seen, but I think is low-key better. However, Sunset Boulevard is just, yeah.
I don't know if I remember the premise correctly or not. Is it a story of a star?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The entire journey?
No, she's not the main character, actually. She's the antagonist, if you really will, maybe.
I love antagonist.
Yeah, she's a great, crazy, and it's a young innocent meets a dark spirit kind of thing.
My favorite.
Yeah. It's like a screenwriter who's trying to make it and can't get a gig, and so the bank is taking back his car because he can't pay his bills. So he's having to drive his car around to evade the people who are coming to take his car back, and he randomly goes up into some old mansion and hides his car there. But that's where this old actress lives from the silent film days, and that's where the story begins.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You set it up beautifully. I'll definitely watch it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. But this one is exceptional. And it's a really good holiday movie for some reason. It captures that bittersweet quality that the holidays usually have, where most people I know feel a mix of happy nostalgia, but also the pain that comes with the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, if you look at his character in the movie, I mean, he's like alone in the beginning. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really have a life, but I think by the time it's Christmas, he tries to get his life together. Mm-hmm. So I think Christmas is, if nothing else, it's something where you meet your family, your loved ones, and you get together. Mm.
Yeah.
That's what I feel about Christmas.
Yeah, and watch good movies.
Absolutely. So many good movies.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I think that's pretty much wraps it up. Any other final thoughts?
No, I think we've talked about almost everything. I mean, I'll say a few more things off camera, but that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Always have more.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Not only this podcast, but also in your class. You went beyond yourself to give me a lot of things, provide me a lot of things. So thank you for that. Okay.
Thank you for saying so. Yeah. And thank you for doing this. I'm so glad that you would come in, and I appreciate you working around my schedule and everything.
Anytime.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. All right, let's get out of here.
Come on, friend. Don't be like that. Are you just gonna sit there and keep bawling? You won't talk to me? You won't tell me what's wrong? Look, I know you think I'm installing you, but when you've been married to a woman for 12 years, you don't just sit down at the breakfast table and say, "Pass the sugar, I want a divorce." It's not that easy. Anyway, it's the wrong time. Kids are home from school, and the in-laws are visiting home for the holidays. I can't bring it up now. This isn't like you, Fran. You're always such a good sport, such fun to be with.
That's me, the happy idiot, a million laughs.
Well, that's more like it. At least you're speaking to me.
A funny thing happened to me at the office party today. I ran into your secretary, Miss Olson. You know, Ring ding ding. I laughed so much I like to have died.
Is that what this is about, Miss Olson? That's ancient history.
I was never good at history. Let's see, there was Miss Olson, and then there was Miss Rossi. No, wait, no, she came before. It was Miss Caution, then it was Miss Olson.
Now, Fran.
And just think, some lucky girl in the building is going to come after me.
Okay, I deserve that. But you have to ask yourself, why does a man run around with a lot of girls? Because he's unhappy at home. Because he's lonely, that's why. But that was before you, Fran. I've stopped running.
How could I be so stupid? You'd think I'd have learned by now. When you fall in love with a married man, don't wear mascara.
It's Christmas Eve, Fran. Let's not fight.
Merry Christmas.
What is it? Our friends from the Chinese restaurant. Thanks, Fran. We better leave this here.
Yeah, we better.
Oh, I got a present for you. Didn't quite know what to get you. Besides, it's kind of awkward for me shopping, so here's $100. Go buy yourself something. They've got some really nice alligator bags at Bergdorf's. It's getting late, Fran. It's 6:45. I must have missed my train. If we hadn't wasted all this time, I have to get home and trim the tree.
Okay. I just thought as long as it was paid for.
Don't talk like that, Fran. Don't make yourself out to be cheap.
Cheap? I don't call that cheap. Plus, you must be paying somebody for the use of the apartment.
Stop it, Fran.
You'll miss your train, Jeff.
You coming?
No, you run along. I have to fix my face.
Don't forget to kill the lights. See you Monday.
Sure. Monday, Thursday, Monday again, Thursday again.
It won't always be like this, Fran. I love you.
Careful, lipstick.
Merry Christmas.